control of the third dimension of motion through flight is a skill that is quite complicated and is a very amazing skill that pilots obtain through training and practice. While that skill is quite impressive, there are many tools and technologies that engineers and scientists have come up with over many years to make that process easier for pilots. In particular, there are systems that keep two planes from flying into each other. There are systems that keep an airplane from flying into terrain in the ground. There are high-end radar systems. There's high-end navigation and communication systems. There's a tremendous amount of technology that is inside of an airplane. Now, this technology is amazing, but it's relegated to high-end airplanes, very expensive airplanes, that many common people, or common pilots like myself, first of all, can't afford. Secondly, the amount of training required to get into those airplanes is quite extensive. So there's a large group of pilots out there that are general aviation pilots. And they get into these small planes, and they fly from point A to point B to buy a very expensive hamburger over the weekend. And today I thought it would be interesting for me to share with you some of the basic tools that you would see in the pilot's bag, general aviation pilot. So we're going to start with some of the pilot documentation that you would see in their bag, the important aircraft information that you would see in a pilot's bag, and then we're going to get into some of the important navigational pieces of information, and then finally communication equipment that you would find in a pilot's bag. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with the pilot information. Any pilot's bag you would see would have a pilot's logbook in it. And this logbook tells a story about the pilot. And as you'll see in my logbook, it has all the flights that I've done, where I went, what kind of airplane I was flying, what kind of duration of that flight, the type of landing it was, whether it was at night, whether it was during the day, the kind of meteorological conditions that were occurring. So you'll see this in every pilot's bag. The next pieces of information that you'll find in the pilot's bag is his actual pilot's license. It's issued by the Federal Aviation Administration when you get your pilot's license, and you can think of this like your driver's license. You have to have this with you when you fly. And finally, the last piece of paper that you have is your medical certificate. Your medical certificate is issued by a medical examiner and pretty much indicates your physical state is sufficient to be able to fly an airplane. So those are the main pieces of paperwork that you would find about the pilot in his pilot bag. Now that we have the pilot covered, the next important piece of information that you'll find in a pilot's bag is an airplane information manual. This is a Cessna 172 information manual. And the importance of this manual, and there are different types of airplane that you fly, and that's the importance of them, is the pilot needs to understand when he gets into that airplane, how that airplane is going to perform. So if you open this book up, it's chock full of charts, information, all sorts of different characteristics about the airplane that's essential for the pilot to understand, both in planning and in making sure that what they're getting ready to do is a safe activity with regards to the performance of the airplane. So once the pilot understands how the airplane is going to perform, understands the characteristics of that airplane, he then has to plan the trip, because why else would you get into an airplane? And that's where a good old-fashioned map becomes very powerful. And this is an aviation sectional. You can think of this as a road map on steroids. This has a tremendous and profound amount of information for a pilot. It provides information with regard to terrain. It provides navigation information. It provides communication information. It provides airspace information. It is a very essential tool for a pilot to be able to get from point A to point B. So you'll see a pilot, when he's planning a trip, he'll go into his kitchen table, he'll lay this down on his kitchen table, and he'll actually take a ruler and he'll plan out his trip on a map like this. With this tool and the information that he knows about the performance of his airplane and the weather that he's going to fly in, he can determine how long it's going to take him, how much fuel he's going to burn, where he needs to stop to be able to get fuel. There's a tremendous amount of profound information. And he'll have this on his lap when he's flying along, tracking along his flight. So it's not that much different than your car with regards to maps and being able to you're probably thinking, wow, you're using paper to get from one point to the other. And that is very true in general aviation. Many pilots still use paper. But don't get too excited here. There is technology that's starting to become available to general aviation pilots. And this is one unit. This is a portable aviation GPS unit. It has a full moving map in it. It has terrain in it, terrain databases. It has weather. It has XM radio even. It is a profound tool to bring into an airplane and provide for additional situational awareness and capability to know where you are, and the types of information that are in books and paper form are all available in this compact unit for all sorts of different airports and different locations. This is a really key piece of information for a pilot and tool that's becoming available to general aviation. So we've covered the importance of the information for the pilot himself, the airplane, and navigation. The next piece is communication. So you'll find in any pilot's bag a good headset. And when you're flying along, there's a tremendous amount of communication that's occurring between pilots, between one pilot and another pilot if they're in non-air traffic controlled airspace. And as well, when you're in airspace that's controlled by an air traffic controller, this is your means to be able to communicate effectively. This is a very, very important tool for pilots, and communication is a very important aspect of safe flight. So to conclude today, we've covered the basic tools of a general aviation pilot. By no means is this all-inclusive. You'll see big bags that pilots have, all kinds of really neat tools. But I thought I would share with you today some of the basics. So the next time you're at the airport and you're seeing these pilots carrying around their big bags of stuff, you have a little glimmer into the idea of what may be